Guys, welcome back to Reading the Word and Understanding the Bible verse. Today I read Matthew chapter 1 and chapter 2 and chapter 3 and chapter 4. I'll read tomorrow. I just want you guys to realize how important it was for Jesus to come to this earth and the important time that he came. So in Matthew 1, what I find really interesting is the family tree, so the genealogy of what's going on. So verse 17, it says, "Thus there was 14 generations in all from Abraham to David, from David to the exile of Babylon, and then from 14 generations from the exile to the Christ." And what's really cool about this is that when you read the Old Testament, you could understand the people he's talking about here. These are people who came from the Old Testament. And this is really cool to understand this. Is that you have all these amazing Bible stories that are in the Old Testament. I encourage you to read it because that's the beginning of how Jesus Christ came here. You're getting to learn who all these important people are up until Christ coming to us. And then a little bit down from that, you have Mary and Joseph. And you have Mary who got pregnant by the Holy Spirit. And what's really interesting about this is during that time, Joseph was, in his mind, he made it, well, Mary got pregnant, so secretly I'm going to just divorce her and be quiet and let that be, because during that time it wasn't right. So this is how God worked. An angel of the Lord came to Joseph as he was sleeping and said, "Do not be afraid to take Mary as your wife. She is with child, but the child is from God. It's from the Holy Spirit. And then during that is that you will call him Jesus. And he is to come onto the earth. There he would save the people from their sins." And that's really important to really understand. Imagine being Joseph, the father, and having this dream because he was sleeping, and then all of a sudden the angel of the Lord in the dream is telling him this, that you're going to have a son who's coming onto the earth to take away sins from the world. That's why Jesus died on the cross for us, right? It's to take our sins. That's what the cross was, because Jesus came here sinless. So right there from the beginning, it's so cool because it mentions what Jesus is going to do for us. And then after you read that, it says that Mary will be truly a virgin with a child. And so that's what Mary was. She was a virgin with a child because it was done with the Holy Spirit. And then you go to Matthew chapter 2. And you have Jesus is born, and you have the Magi that come, which are the three wise kings. And these three wise men go to King Herod. Now, King Herod kind of got jealous here when the Magi came, or the three wise kings came to him. Three wise men. They weren't kings, they were three wise men. And they came to ask King Herod, where is the great king? Where is the King of Kings, Lord of Lords? Because we want to come worship him. And King Herod simply said, I don't know where it is. I don't know who the child you're talking about. But when you do go find this child, go search for him. Come back and let me know so I may too worship him. So see, King Herod Satan was already tempting King Herod's thoughts during this time. God allowed it to happen. And I find it very interesting that King Herod told them, go do the search and come back and let me know. Why? Because if you read more of it, it says that King Herod wasn't really interested in worshiping the Lord. He got kind of jealous. Like, who's this king that they're gonna come worship? Like, how come, like, King Herod already had in his head, like, how come they're not worshiping me? I'm a king, and who's this person who's they're gonna go worship? So already he got jealous already during this time. Satan already tempted King Herod's heart, and he already got jealous. So after the birth of Jesus, and after the three wise men met up with Mary and Joseph in the manger, that when the three wise men left, they went on a different route home. They went a different way. And then Joseph went to sleep, had another dream that an angel of the Lord came to him and said, take your family and go to Egypt. Stay there until I call you back. So he left to Egypt. When King Herod, so you got Mary, Joseph, and now baby Jesus going to Egypt. And King Herod found out where the baby was supposed to be born, and everybody who was all the boys in Bethlehem that were 2 years old or younger were basically slaughtered and killed. Anybody in Bethlehem that had a 2-year-old boy and younger. Imagine that. What does that remind you of? It reminds me of when, in the Old Testament, of Moses. When Moses was born, that's what happened to him. The Israelites, they grew too big, so the Pharaoh wanted to keep him controlled, right? So he ordered that all the boys who were a certain age group die in the households. And it was probably around, I would say, because they were babies, so I would say probably around the same age, probably 2 years old or younger, were dead in Egypt. And that's during Moses' time. And then Moses got saved, and Moses lived in Egypt. So I find it really cool how you have this awesome testimony of Moses living in Egypt, and then you have Joseph and Mary going to Egypt with baby Jesus, traveling to Egypt so that way Jesus could be saved. And I find that really cool, really interesting how the stories come together like that. And so that's what happens in chapter 2. So finally, King Herod dies, and everybody who was after Jesus ends up dying. And then an angel comes to Joseph again and says, now you can return back. And he was going to Israel, and when he was going to Israel, then going to Nazareth, and that's why Jesus was called a Nazarene, because they ended up living in Nazareth, and that's where Jesus grew up. So that's where we're leaving off. Pray that this helps you guys pray that you guys read this so you guys can get more interested, more involved in it, and understand why Jesus' birth was so important. So I pray that you guys have a good day, blessed day, love you guys, and God bless.